Suicide on the prior was he was a senior, I believe, and it happened whenever I was a freshman, and it had a great effect on everybody here, and it's hard.
I think it's a public health crisis, and the reason I say public health crisis is because that's a defined methodology where federal agencies need to come to our assistance, including state agencies. When you have a whole school right now, basically the future of those individual kids resting on the shoulders of two health professionals, there's something wrong.
There's all the whys. Why would he do it, Surely he knew that we loved him and we cared about him. Why would he do it? That's the big, that and guilt, I think.
I look at it as the loss of identity and that disconnect with who, Indian country is. And it was, you look at the way the boarding schools and how everything laid out, it was meant to fracture the family. The family was very tight. And that's what it did. We have a lot of lost kids out there.
If you have a raging forest fire, do you just say that tree is burning down? I mean, quite literally, we have some major problems that somebody needs to be told, hey, we have a problem here, So I think if you're going to relay a story, you almost have to be candid, because that's all I understand.
When he came upstairs, I didn't see him get the gun because I was by the microwave, the counter. And that's when I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I thought about killing myself." I said, "Why?" I said, "You're drunk." And I said, "Give me that gun." And, "No, Mom." And he wouldn't do it. So I turned and grabbed the phone and came back. As I was dialing, I came back, and just as I went and got to that corner like this, that's when that happened.
Oh, I haven't faced with it when I was, still a young kid. I tried to take a whole bunch of medicine. Took a sedative, that's what it felt like, Felt like I was tired. And, I did it because of problems with my family. And then, once I took them, the problem, my mother, it was with my mother, and my mother, said she was sorry, and it was too late, I thought I was gonna, what I do. They took me to the hospital, and I told her. I didn't want to tell her, but she knew she could tell something was wrong with me, because I was real drowsy, and they pumped my stomach. And it was a long time ago. I think I was only like 15.
He wanted to, he just wanted to go out and use the car, and it started out a pleasant conversation, but as we talked, he, was frustrated. I couldn't honor his wishes of letting him use the car, and so he got angry, and that's why I didn't really pay attention when he said, well, I might as well just kill myself, those were. And I said, "Oh, son, I can't do this. I can't do this tonight." And I said, "Maybe tomorrow," is what I had told him. And so then he hung up, and according to the coroner, he killed himself about 9:15, 9:20, somewhere in there. So that's why I think that I was probably the last person that talked to him.
It was very traumatic, I guess, for all of us. But up to this day, we don't know why or, what made him do that. But I know his alcohol level, the toxicology report, I asked for a copy, and it was 0.46. I said, that's pretty much alcohol poisoning. And Terry Bullis told me, he said, yeah, that is. He wasn't in his right mind. But I don't know what happened, what was said or what led up to it, because he was always happy and he never wanted, he was always for Grandpa and Mom, you need anything? And Mom, what do you want me to do? And Grandpa, and he was always there to help and stuff. And then out of the blue, this happens. And
we're living on a reservation, and in some reservations, like, there's always poverty. There's always this third world kind of thing. And it's just how you deal with it. Some people have ways to cope with it. Good. I don't know how you say, good ways to cope with problems, like have good releases, like basketball and all of our culture. And and some kids don't have that. There's a lot of all kinds of things on the reservation, alcoholism, everything, addictions. It's all here. And it's like everywhere else, Everywhere else there's places like that. And there's suicide everywhere, and on the reservation, it's the same as out there.
There's a lot of issues, but it just isn't suicide. I think they're all connected. Everything comes down to that. We have a lot of hopeless and lost people out there. And again, that, it might lead into some of the pain or shame they deal with. They might drink it away or do something else. Eventually push it back down, and it builds up to a point where suicide comes into their thoughts. And I think it's all connected, though.
It's probably not unique in a sense that you can separate it from Montana society. I think it's probably more akin to communities that are what we call super frontier, that basically are kids that are not living in Billings. I mean, you lived in Billings, you can go to a swimming pool, you can go to a basketball court, mental health professional, movies. If you're inclined, float down the river. I mean, you have a lot of things that's accessible. If you live in a rural community, you're just limited to survival. When it snows, snow is not something to be celebrated. It's something to say, well, I got to get to work. I got to get my kids to school. How deep is it, and how long do I have to shovel to get to the road, to wait for the snowplow to follow it back to Browning? I mean, literally, the winter is like a survival issue for us, I
guess it'd be nice just to have more places, more activities on the res, because as you see, we're in the middle of nowhere. But it's just how kids take it, I guess. It's just how kids deal with what, everybody's fighting their own battles.
In some of the situations we dealt with, there would be 1 or 2 behavioral psychologists available for the entire reservation, and they work at IHS, and they would have a list of people in the waiting line to be seen. And in that situation where someone has suicidal ideation, it's crazy to sit here and think, well, hold on, come back in 2 weeks,
I called the Crow IHS and asked if they had I don't know, what would you say, a crisis team or something? Yeah, we do, but if they can handcuff him and bring him in, we'll have the psychologist on call come and talk to him. And I just said, hell with you guys, and I hung up on them, I was upset because I expected, some people to come, and that never happened.
There should be an attempt on the part of the federal Indian Health Service that's down there, the tribe, the state. I don't care who that non-governmental agency is. They should be asking whether or not they could send in a team to help.
And it's such a unique problem. It's not like there's no recipe to suicide. It's so unique that, I think sometimes it gets lumped into stereotypes of a whole, be it veterans or natives or elderly. And that's kind of what I don't want. It's very unique to the person. I think sometimes we forget about that. Because each person is so, they're individuals, certain things people can handle, certain things some people can't handle,
When you have individual kids that have their whole life before them go to this really dark place that they're never coming out, then we as professionals need to walk to the edge to be able to see what that looks like.
And just me working in the schools, those kids are amazingly strong, and there's such resilience in them. And you come in and you sit down and talk with them, and there's that instant connection. They know that you're there for them, and you never know what's going on at home. Not that all of it's bad, but there's a lot of situations out there that are hard for these kids. And what we found is a lot of the teenagers and high schoolers support each other. They take care of each other in a lot of ways. And it gets frustrating, but.
And I'm being told that now that there's a lot of the ideation that's in social media. So, but how do you monitor that many kids, that are on it? I mean, it's really difficult. But with the young kids being trained in the various ways to identify, and we've trained literally hundreds of them, so we got to figure out how they can be the watchdogs. We've already done that a couple times where a young girl indicated that she was going to commit suicide. So within hours, we had people converging on her house. So that was all due to social media.
And so it's that stigma that people just don't talk about it. I think that's the biggest problem with it, and it is a problem.
It's important here now to target suicide and suicide prevention because recently, just within the last several months, there's been a whole rash of suicide. And there's a lot of interconnected relationships between Pryor, Lodgegrass, St. Labray, Wyola, Lame Deer. All these schools have cousins and brothers and friends, and they meet up regularly for different competitions, tournaments, powwows, things like that. They meet together, and so they're all interconnected. And within this, there's a correlation between a student committing suicide, and then sometime later another student will commit suicide, and it's not necessarily thought of by students as the thing to do, but it's not looked down upon at the same time. It's always there as an option, and so the idea of this is to provide other options.
Native pride. Native pride? Native pride.
We've contracted through IRS, and they have been coming to do these ARC lessons. And the ARC lessons are designed to help students deal with secondary trauma, primary trauma, any kind of trauma that the student goes through, whether it's bullying, whether it could be drug abuse, issues at home, issues within the school, issues within the family, things like that. And so they've been showing up about once or twice a month to work with the kids. And then this opportunity to do Sources of Strength came up, and as an addition to those ARC lessons, and it really targets several things. But right now, the primary target is suicide and suicide prevention, and to get the students to recognize that they have sources of strength within their life.
Me and all these other Native American children, youth leaders, we got together and we started suicide prevention. We started reaching out to children. It's hard to believe that a lot of these kids can, suicide is their only way out. But that's, at first that's when I encountered suicide. I thought it was, that bad too. But things, they get bad at sometimes. But it's always, once you're at the bottom, you can only go up. So
we need to pay close attention, because there was a lot of times I didn't want to be here anymore either after my son died. I mean, I was so hurt, so heartbroken and that's why I said my traditions, what I was taught in my prayer life, my faith, my belief ways is so important, because I need to be here for the rest of my family, my grandchildren, for those generations that aren't here yet. And we all need to work together.
I think it's that loss of culture and loss of identity, and they always want to look outside to be, we always joke with some of the kids is they want to get into the hip hop arena, they always do this and that, and I always say, I said, the Native Americans of this country are the only people who are actually still on their own land. They actually still have their languages, their cultures, their dances, their songs, and you should feel connected to that. For the most part, treatment's good, but the ones who get through it and become strong again are the ones who go back to their culture. And they go and they'll start to go on the red road and things like that. So to me, I'm like, okay, well, if we can do that and get these kids, maybe in 15, 20 years, we're not going to see these things. If we can build these kids up.
There's hope everywhere. We only have a small town of 50, probably 100, probably 150. And we have 4 churches here. There's hope right there. We have in our culture, there's sweats and everything. That's hope. There's hope all around. You just have to look for it. And you just want to be helped. And if you believe that there is hope, then that's what you want. I guess God will help you.